Flipgrid is a video discussion platform used by educators all over the world. Recently, Flipgrid was acquired by Microsoft, and when Microsoft acquired it, they made the platform completely free to all teachers and students as well. So before we get started on creating your Flipgrid account and beginning to use Flipgrid, I just want to give you a little demonstration as to what Flipgrid actually looks like. So this is an example of a grid that I created in Flipgrid. A grid, you can think of that terminology as your classroom or your community of learners. And you can create as many grids as you want. You can do it by class, or you can have one grid where all of your students respond to the exact same grid. And within your grid, this is my grid here, Miss Robinson's Corner. As I scroll down, you can add as many topics that you want the students to respond to as you wish. So you can see two topics that I have listed here. One is called Introductions. And Introductions is a way to get your students to use Flipgrid for the first time if they're not familiar with a video platform type of response system. So what the students would do is they would click on the topic that they're going to respond to, and you will be providing instructions as you want what you want the students to actually answer. You can include verbal directions. You can also include movie clips or pictures or moving images like you see here. And these are some of the details we'll get into later. But what the students then do is they get a little button over here that when clicked on presents them with a box that opens up where they'll be able to record themselves responding to whatever it is, the question, the topic, the theme that you have posted. Now, in order to do this, the students do need to be on a device that has a webcam built into it as well as a microphone, which could be a tablet. There are also apps for iPhones and other phones and iPads so that this can be used across many different devices. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started with creating your Flipgrid account. To create your Flipgrid account, you're going to go open up a web browser and go to flipgrid.com, which is going to bring you to this page. At the upper right-hand side, you will see an area that says Educator Login. Now, the great thing about Flipgrid is because this was recently acquired by Microsoft, you will be able to use your Office 365 account to actually create your account. You don't need to create a separate account for Flipgrid itself and create another username and password. You can use the exact same one that you use for Office 365. And this goes for the students as well, which is great. So you're going to click on Educator Login. And then you'll see over here under Educators, log in with Google, log in with Microsoft. We are going to choose Microsoft so that we can use our Office 365 account. And this will usually either create a pop-up or bring you to the Office 365 page where you will choose, if you're on a device you've already used Office 365 with, you'll choose your Office 365 account. You'll put in your password. And then this is going to bring you to the Flipgrid dashboard. So this is what the Flipgrid dashboard looks like when you initially create your account. You will not have anything listed here. These are grids that I've already created. You're going to see some tools up here, which we'll go over in other videos, but by default, every time you log into Flipgrid, you will be on the page that says My Grids. So to create your first grid, you're going to come down to this area where it says New Grid. Now remember, a grid is a community of learners or your class. You can create as many grids as you want. It really depends on how many students you want responding in that particular grid. So for example, you're an elementary teacher and you only have 20 to 30 students, you may only need one grid for that entire school year. If you're a middle school or high school teacher and you have 100 students, you may want to create separate grids for each one of your classes so that when you create a topic and your students are responding to that topic, you don't have 80 to 100 students responding and have this very long page of replies. However, as you get used to this, you may want to create a grid where you can have multiple classes sort of collaborate and respond on one particular grid. And that's something we'll go into later as well. So to get started, you're going to click on New Grid. And this is going to be very important because we want our students to access your grids and log into Flipgrid using their Office 365 account as opposed to creating a separate Flipgrid account. So the setup, while tedious, is going to be very important. So where it says select a grid type, you're going to choose school email domain. And this is going to allow us with Office 365 accounts for the students to log in using that account. So you're going to click on this. For those who are in elementary school who are younger than 3rd grade, who do not have an Office 365 account, you will be using something called student ID list, which I will post in a separate video. So we're going to click on school email domain, and then you're going to name your grid. Remember, this is sort of like your classrooms. You can be as creative or as simple as you want. It can just be your name, or if you have a particular theme for your school year, you can call it that. I'm just going to call this Ms. Robinson's classroom. Now down here where it says create a flip code, this is what the website address you're going to give your students once you have some topics created for them to be able to actually interact with your Flipgrid. They automatically generate a URL for you. However, you can get rid of the information after the slash and create your own unique URL if you want. So when you click inside here and we delete this, it will delete everything. Don't be alarmed. All you're going to do is type in the information you would want after the slash. So for instance, maybe I wanted the URL for my Flipgrid to be flipgrid.com/Miss Robinson, and it will tell you if it's not available. I have already taken that one. You can see this one is now available. So you don't have to do this, but if you want your students to be able to maybe go to this and type it in easier, you could do that. And then you scroll down where it says personalize your grid. These pictures down here represent the banner that will appear in the background of the home page of your Flipgrid. So there are different categories that you can look at. These are the pictures that they have, or if you save a picture to your computer, you can actually upload your own picture and use that. So you choose whatever you want and then click next. Now this part is very important that you type this in right, because we chose school email domain for how the students are going to access your grid. Flipgrid needs to know what all of the information is after the @ symbol in the student's email. So our students' Office 365 accounts, the email that they use is limbrookschools.org, and you got to make sure you type that correctly. It's not limbrook.k12.ny.us. That is not a Microsoft email address. So once you've typed it in right, you hit enter, and then you're going to click launch my grid. It will give you a little preview of it. And what I'm going to suggest you do is also now go through with me the customization in terms of privacy settings. Again, a little tedious, but you do it once and then you're ready to go. So when you click on customize your grid, this is where you can, if you wanted to change the name of it, you could change the name of it. If you wanted to change the flip code over here, you could do that. Community type, all of this information should be fine. Down here, some of the features that you may want to turn on or off. Notify me, receive an email notification when new student videos are added. You may want to turn that off. Any time a student adds something to your Flipgrid, that would send an email to your limbrookschools.org email address. So if you want to turn that off, you can turn that off. This is automatically on by default. Allow downloads. Do you want your students to be able to download a copy of what they posted, their video response to your topic? You can leave that on or off. That's totally up to you. Grid followers allow students to receive email notifications when new topics are created. This is not really necessary to put on at this time because our students don't actually use that email address. Captions are off by default, but you could put that on if you want. And automatically when you create your grid, it is actually active. Now my students wouldn't be able to access this right now because I haven't even shared the URL with them. But if you wanted to hide a grid for whatever reason for a period of time, if you click on this, you can make it inactive and then nobody would be able to see it. So go down to the bottom over here, section 4. This is just, if you wanted to change the banner, the personalization, you could do that here. But really the only thing that I wanted you to double check before you actually created your grid is section 3, the features. And then if you made any changes, you'll click update grid, and then it will bring you back to your grid homepage. So now you have your grid created, and you can see down here it generates 2 default topics, which we'll go over in the next video. But now your grid is created, and now it's time to actually add topics that the students are going to respond to.